Well, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Holly Salmi. I'm with the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce and Communications area, and it's a pleasure to have you all joining us for this next edition of a series of webinars that we, local chambers and economic developers, have put together to try to help businesses and manufacturers across the state prepare, apply, and secure significant workforce development, community building, innovation, and infrastructure grants that are newly made available through the American Rescue Plan Act funding and other state and federal programs that have been developed to spur economic recovery and resilience coming out of the pandemic. We're very pleased to have one of our dedicated Nebraska Chamber members with us today as a guest speaker. The Nebraska Business Development Center, housed at the University of Nebraska Omaha College of Business, helps strengthen businesses and communities and Nebraska's economy by providing one-on-one consulting to entrepreneurs, business owners, innovators, and economic and community development programs. Seeing an opportunity for Nebraska businesses, contractors, and suppliers, NBDC has taken a leadership role in helping businesses get federal contract ready, as I like to call it, to win new contracts through the Nebraska Department of Transportation projects that are coming as a result of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. Veronica Doga, who joins me today, serves as the Procurement Technical Assistance Center Director, managing the statewide program as part of the Nebraska Business Development Center. PTAC offers consulting services regarding government contracting and at no charge to Nebraska businesses. Previously, Veronica served as Export Assistance Consultant and Market Research Specialist, providing support with export business planning, international market research, financing, and export licenses and regulations. I also have the pleasure of being part of Leadership Nebraska Class 14 this year with Veronica Doga, and she has just been a gem to have as part of that, learning with each other, learning about Nebraska's economy. If you haven't checked out Leadership Nebraska, you probably should. Thank you again, Veronica, for making time for us today. We'll turn the presentation over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Holly, for that great introduction. And good afternoon, and thank you for joining in today to talk about the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act with the focus on Nebraska Department of Transportation, Bipartisan Infrastructure Law projects and requirements. So for the past year or so, we have been hearing a lot about the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the impact and opportunities it will have long-term on our nation's infrastructure. Today, on a high level, we'll touch on some transportation funding opportunities, the way money is distributed, some NDOT projects, and requirements that come with these projects. As you might have heard, the bill provides $550 billion to the Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration over a 5-year period in new federal investment in our infrastructure. Focusing on the highway programs alone, the bill makes a $350 billion investment. This is also the largest bridge investment since 1956, when the interstate highway system was initiated. So what is the focus of the bill for the Federal Highway Administration, and what are the key topics? For bridges, the focus is on bridge replacement, rehabilitation, preservation, protection, and construction programs. For climate resilience, the focus is on a number of new programs targeted at mitigating the impacts of climate change and increasing the resilience of the surface transportation system. For the electric vehicles, several DOT funding and finance programs are available to plan for and build EV chargers, support workforce training for new technologies, and integrate electric vehicles as part of the strategies to address commuter, freight, and public transportation needs. The safety system approach addresses the safety of all road users, including those who walk, bike, drive, ride transit, and travel by other modes. It involves a paradigm shift to improve safety culture, increase collaboration across all safety stakeholders, and refocus transportation system design and operation on anticipating human mistakes and lessening impact forces to reduce crash severity and save lives. And this is also the first federal program that focuses on reconnecting communities that were previously cut off from the economic opportunities by transportation infrastructure. Funding supports planning grants and capital construction grants, as well as technical assistance to restore community connectivity through the removal, retrofit, mitigation, or replacement of eligible transportation infrastructure facilities. So funding will be delivered through formula funds to state, local and tribal governments, as well as through the competitive solicitations. So what does this mean? The formula programs use a formula determined by the Congress using specific inputs. There is no application process. And the discretionary grants uses a competitive process where states can compete for available grants. So this investment of $350 billion in highway programs, approximately 90% is going to be distributed to states as formula funding. All exiting highway programs will continue, and 4 new programs are created, which include the Protect Funding Grant Program that allows cities, towns, and villages across America to make their transportation infrastructure more resilient to natural disasters. Carbon Reduction Program has a focus to reduce transportation emissions through the development of state carbon reduction strategies and by funding projects designed to reduce transportation emissions. The Bridge Formula Program funds replacing all bridges classified as in poor condition and rehabilitating all bridges classified as in fair condition. And then the National EV Infrastructure Program dedicates funding to help make EV chargers and alternative fueling facilities accessible to all Americans for long distance trips. So with regards to the transportation in Nebraska, the bipartisan infrastructure bill will focus on the repair and rebuild our roads and bridges, improve the safety of our transportation system, improve healthy, sustainable transportation options, build a network of EV chargers, and improve our nation's airports. This is not an exhaustive list, and on top of all of these programs, there are other grant opportunities for Nebraska to apply for, in addition to all aforementioned programs. So we can see that the money allocated to Nebraska for fiscal year 2022 shows the increase in existing formula programs, as well as the allocations for the new formula programs, amounting to over $432 million. Some of the projects the Nebraska DOT is focusing on are the I-86 lane expansion, as well as the I-84 lane replacement in the specified locations. Some of the asset preservation highlights are the annual rehabilitation increase to 700 miles of roadways and doubling the bridge investment to 100 million. And that's only for Nebraska. So there is a lot of small business opportunities with NDOT. Between 2019 and 2021, the Nebraska Department of Transportation processed over 3,000 subcontractor approvals. However, only 160 are disadvantaged business enterprise certified, and out of those, only 19 are actively participating in the projects. And I will talk a little bit about the DBE program later in the presentation as well, to give you an idea what that is and how you can take advantage of that. So this is the website where you want to go and monitor on a regular basis if you're interested in pursuing the NDOT work. And Holly will share this link with you later after the presentation, but this is where you want to be to see all of the opportunities and where you can bid. So we talked about the available money, their distribution process, and the key focus of the bill in Nebraska. Now we're going to focus on the requirements that these contracts come with. The David-Bacon Act is one of those requirements, and it applies to contracts over $2,000 for construction, alteration, and/or repair of the public building and public works. The Davis-Bacon Act requires contractors and subcontractors to pay laborers and mechanics employed on federal construction contracts no less than the locally prevailing wages and fringe benefits for corresponding work on similar projects in the area as established by the Department of Labor. Contractors must maintain an accurate record of hours worked and wages paid, including fringe benefit contributions, and submit certified payroll on a weekly basis to the agency. A vast majority of the federal funding authorized by the bill requires the payment of Davis-Bacon prevailing wages on covered construction projects. Typically, there are two types of wage determinations, general and project. Majority of the time, general wage determinations are used and are available on sam.gov. These wage determinations should be used in bid solicitations and contracts. Project wage determinations are seldomly used and should only be requested under circumstances. Another requirement that would apply to is the Build America, Buy America provisions of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which are designed to strengthen Made in America requirements. Agencies must ensure all funds made available for a federal financial assistance program for the infrastructure, whether or not funded by bill, include provisions ensuring that all of the iron, steel, manufactured products, and construction materials used are produced in the United States, and that policies are in place to process written requests for waivers to this requirement in a transparent manner. Bill specifically describes the waiver request steps. It discusses the process by which a waiver of the requirement may be requested, evaluated, and either granted or denied. I would also mention that the BAA requirements apply to iron and steel products and their coatings that are to be permanently incorporated into the projects. I did mention that there is a possibility for waivers, and these are some of the circumstances when a waiver could be granted by the Secretary of Transportation. A third potential requirement to pursue funds is a registration with sam.gov. You do need a SAM registration if you're pursuing federal awards. An entity registration allows your organization the opportunity to receive a contract or assistance directly from the federal government, not from another contractor or awardee. You need to register your entity in sam.gov when you want to bid on federal contracts as a prime contractor or seek federal assistance as a prime awardee. The process for entity registrations includes getting the unique entity ID and requires assertions, representations, and certifications and other information about your business. The UEI does not expire. However, registrations must be updated and renewed each year to remain in the active registration status. If you do not update or renew your registration, it will be in inactive status, but your entity will still have the same UEI. In some instances, getting a UEI is the only thing you need. Some entities who do business with the government may choose not to register in sam.gov, for example, the sub-awardees. In this case, those entities cannot bid directly or on federal contracts as a prime contractor or seek federal assistance as a prime awardee. If this is the goal of the entity, they can go to sam.gov and get a UEI only, so no entity registration required. The information required for getting a UEI without registration is minimal. It only validates your organization's legal business name and address. So to get a UEI or to complete a full registration with sam.gov, you must set up a sam.gov account, and you start with creating a username and password with login.gov. After your username and password is successfully created with login.gov, you would then proceed to sam.gov to log in. Then you can complete your registration. It's a little twisted and it's confusing, but if you follow the steps, you should get where you're going. It is also crucial to prepare all of the necessary information for your registration. This link actually I do have the checklist up, so I will share it with you in a moment, but Holly will also share with you a link that will take you to an entity registration checklist where you can see all of the documents you must gather prior to starting a registration process. Now let me see if I can actually show it to you. Okay. Can you see it, Holly?
We see it, maybe a little bigger, but we're good.
Perfect. So this is the checklist on how to prepare for an entity registration in SAM, and it takes you on the path that you are on, whether it's for all awards registrations or whether you're seeking financial assistance awards only. So I would also caution you about SAM. And if you're not familiar with it, it's very finicky these days. And the reason it's because of the transition from the old system to the new system that happened at the beginning of this year. And GSA, who manages SAM, is still trying to figure out the quirks of the transition. And that's why SAM has been acting up, at least in our experience, for all of the registrations, or almost all, I should say. So if you do have a validation for the address or for the business name to make, you must make sure that is the correct one and it matches, and not just pick something that doesn't have a comma or anything, because then the whole registration will be not good, and you don't want to be in that position. And I'm not going to go into too much detail into that, but if you do have questions, please let us know. All right, so we're going to share with you the checklist, and you can also take a look at that. And I did mention the DBE earlier in my presentation, and I would like to talk a little bit about what it is and who is this program for. The Disadvantaged Business Enterprise is a DOT certification program for the socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. Each state administers their own program, and it was designed to create a level playing field for disadvantaged companies to compete for the DOT contracts. Who uses the DBE program? So there are a number of federal agencies and some state and local government agencies that use the DBE certification. In airports and transit authorities use that too. And in my experience, I have seen a federally funded project by EPA that also required or accepted DBE certifications. So if the business goes after the certification, they can use that certification with multiple agencies as well outside of the DOT. I should say it is state program. It's administered by, it's a federal state program administered by the local state, by the state. And in Nebraska, it is administered by the Nebraska DOT. And it is fairly easily transferable between the states. So there are certain requirements. I'm not going to go into this deeply, but there are some requirements that must be met. The entity must be for profit, and it has to be a small business, and 51% or more owned and operated by a socially and economically disadvantaged individual. So the information about the DBE program can be found on the DOT's website. And again, Holly will share with you this link, and the contact person for this program specifically is Zidarta Winfrey. And I will take a couple minutes to just talk about our PTAC team and our program. This is all of our lovely PTAC consultants. We are, as Holly mentioned before, a statewide program providing government contracting assistance to businesses in Nebraska. And in case you are in the location that you can see on the map, you know where or who to call. We have offices in Norfolk, Omaha, Lincoln, and Kearney. So what do we do and what do we offer? Our services are free, and we provide government contracting services for Nebraska businesses, specifically SAM registrations, all kind of certifications that the businesses qualify for, like the women-owned small business, veteran-owned small business, 8A program, or Hub Zone program. We also do market research for finding who is buying what you're selling, putting together marketing materials for government contracting, namely capability statements, which are like your business cards. We do proposal reviews for businesses, and we also help businesses read the bids and understand what they are supposed to follow. Another thing that we're also doing is training, and we're offering over 70 training events during the year. And the most notably one that is coming up is Meet the Buyers Conference, which will be held in Scottsbluff between October 18th and 20th. And you can visit our website for a detailed agenda. But I can tell you that we have over 10 agencies, federal, state, and local agencies, as well as primes that will be in attendance, and where you can learn from them directly on how to do business with them. And for the list, you can visit our website. So Holly, I'm a little early. And if there are any questions, I'm ready for that.
Thank you so much, Veronica. A couple questions that the team here at the Nebraska Chamber had to start us off. Is there a projected timeline that has been published, either from NDOT or even best guess, related to when some of the RFPs might go out on bipartisan infrastructure projects?
Yes, and I think there are some up right now, but they will, so all of these money is spread for over a 5 period. And from my knowledge, they're either in the works or already have been posted on the NDOT's website that I mentioned before for business opportunities. And that's where the businesses should go to see when those pop up. Another thing that our office offers is the bid match. And bid match is an automated email that is crafted based on the business's NAICS code or keywords and their interests. So the technology goes out there, scouts what opportunities are available that match the description, the keywords, and then it sends an email every day or every time there is a match with their to the business, so that all of the opportunities are listed there. So that's also a nice way to scan what's out there and not make sure that you're not missing any available opportunities. And it doesn't matter what agency you're pursuing, NDOT or other federal opportunities. We also have a weekly newsletter that we're sending out every Friday with Nebraska specific state and local opportunities. And again, it's all free, and you just have to sign up for it, and then you will receive those. They're grouped by industry, and then you just pick your industry and go in there and see what's available.
That you can't tell, but I'm taking notes as you're talking. Okay, we need to get on those email lists. In your mind, just to kind of sum it up, what are really those first things that a business needs to consider, think about now in order to be federal contract ready by the time some of these bipartisan infrastructure law projects come into being?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I don't even know where to start. There's just so much. So first, make sure that your business has capacity. And I understand that we're all grappling for workers and there is not enough, but just do your best. Make sure that you're performing on your current jobs. You're not underperforming or not performing at all, because that will haunt you. Talk to your contracting officer or your prime and communicate with them as much as possible. Get ready in terms of knowing all of the requirements that there are. Have your accounting principles ready, because you have to show the federal projects that you're working on separately and must be able to track everything down as the Davis-Bacon Act, with all of the wage requirements and all of that needs to be shown clearly by project. Make sure that you have a registration in SAM and it's active. And if it's not, reach out to one of our team members and they will be able to help you out with going through the registration. And reach also out to other partners that are out there, like the Association of the General Contractors. That they are a great resource, and they will tell you all of the projects that are out there, and they're just a great resource for specifically construction businesses. Another great group is the Society of the American Military Engineers. And it's a little misleading because you hear American military engineers and you think that only military and only engineers can join, but that is not, it's not correct. Anybody can join, and they have great resources for businesses as well. So those are the things that come to mind for the beginning and for getting ready.
Okay, and we will send out some of this additional contact information and resources that NBDC has provided today. Thank you, Veronica, for being here and providing this really critical information as people basically scale up to try to accommodate some of these projects across our state. They're very major, and they're going to make a big impact, and they'll make a big impact for businesses just as much as communities and the state in general. So we appreciate that. Is there any last words, Veronica, for us before we jump off today?
Just keep your eyes peeled and ears open on opportunities. There's a lot of money that is coming. It's here. It's been allocated. The projects are coming down the pike. It's not only NDOT that will have projects. There are other agencies that will obviously be distributing the bill money. And again, our office can help you find those opportunities. Get ready, have all of your ducks in a row, and this is a time to grow.
Thank you very much. Thank you again to everyone who joined us today and to the Nebraska Business Development Center. I look forward to hosting more of these sessions as we move through September and October, so stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Holly.